Hi Dinesh. On behalf of TeamLease, will welcoming you for this particular webinar on generative AI. Uh, Today we have Nabajyoti with us, who will really take us through about the concepts and the implementation of generative AI. What is Gen AI, where we are using, what sort of the LLMs are available in Gen AI, how we can use it, how this can help in our day-to-day environment, how we can really enhance the productivity of the people, right? So all of those things will be covered by Navajyoti in today's session. The session is structured in a way like 60 to 70 minutes would be a kind of the session conducted by Navajyoti. I'm sure you would have lot of the questions with you. You can keep your questions, and then after we'll give you the 15 minutes, which is the end of the webinar, wherein you can unmute yourself. You can ask your question, or you can write your questions into the chat window. We will be happy to answer those questions right in the webinar itself. If we will not be able to address your questions within the timeline, we will make sure we'll write the email to you with all of the answers of your respective questions. So now handing over this call to Navajyoti to take it up. Navajyoti, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dinesh, for the introductions and context that you have set for the today's webinar. So let me pull out my PPT and let's get started with this. So hope I'm audible and hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Navajyoti. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. So as you can see, the title of the today's training on the generative AI and around the generative AI, I'm going to talk on a few points, as you can see, as an agenda for today's webinar. So we'll get into the introduction to the generative AI. That's number one. Number two, how we can make use of the generative AI using tools and platform around us. And then we'll be talking about what are the generative AI offering from the cloud vendors like Microsoft, Google, and AWS. Typically, these are the three main cloud vendors that uh, what we essentially go and look for the different services without developing on our own. So in context of generative AI, also, we are going to look at what is being given, what is being offered by the cloud vendors, and closing these sessions with some use cases and the problem statement where the generative AI can be used in real life, the implementations or from the different verticals and the domain. So that is precisely what we are going to explore in 2 hours training. So rest everything has already explained by Dinesh. So if you have any questions, so you can put your question in between. I may not keep looking at the chat windows, but yes. So eventually I'll be able to give some time at the end of the training to answer your all queries. Or if you feel that if you want to talk to me directly, you can unmute your mic and you can definitely speak to me. So first thing, you have to mute yourself when you are attending these things. If you're not talking to me, please mute everyone from your end. So you only unmute if you would like to talk to me anytime during the session. Yeah, thank you. So already Dinesh has introduced me, but quickly myself Nabajyoti Boruah. I'm working primarily as a cloud architect and AI consultant at this moment. And I have been working around with those technology, as you can see, along with the platform like Azure, AWS, Google. So let's get started with the agenda. Once again, so very good morning to all of you. So I can see a lot of people are joining in this particular webinar to get insight about the generative AI. So hope so at the end of the session, so you'll be learning uh, what I said the agenda in the beginning. So let's get started with what exactly the artificial intelligence is all about. Now, we all of us know today the human has started delegating their job to the application and the system. For example, detecting a face before you get access to a service or a system, right? So face detections, like you're unlocking your phone by just producing your face in front of the phone. That is the kind of implementation of artificial intelligence. Taking business decisions by knowing data from the past. The kind of artificial intelligence is allowed to do that. So we can go on and on in today's context where the artificial intelligence is being used extensively. Self-driving car. So without a driver, car can run on the road, right? So with the help of application, we can identify the images. Like if you have given your photo, your artificial intelligence can tell who that person is in that photo. Or the artificial intelligence can analyze the content or object from that photos. What are the objects available in that photos or a videos? Now, artificial intelligence is being used extensively in different workload, like workload related to the images and the photos or a videos or a text and a language, translating language from one to another, right? You are talking to the artificial intelligence using your own native language. The artificial intelligence understand and act on your command. Every day you have been using like Google Alexa or maybe the other virtual assistants who take your command and get your job done. So we can go on and talking about where the artificial intelligence is being used. And eventually we can categorically talk about how artificial intelligence is used in retail, how artificial intelligence is being used in the factories, in the manufacturing unit, how artificial intelligence is being used in educations, sales and marketing, in banking, insurance, right? The hospitality manage, the industries. So now, if you start figuring out where not the artificial intelligence is being used, but the bottom line, what I'm talking about, it's all about offloading the human capability to the applications, to the system, who can basically do the human job. Like in the field of text, so we can do some kind of text analysis. Like if somebody is asking me to uh, analyze a review written for a particular product, or analyzing a review written for a hotel stay or a restaurant, whether review is positive or a negatives or a neutral. If the review is positive, what people liked about it. If the review is negative, what people dislike about that product or the hotel stay, all can be done by using artificial intelligence. So I can keep talking, on and on. So you may be experiencing in a day-to-day basis what is happening around us. So bottom line is the artificial intelligence is everywhere, whether you are able to identify them categorically or not. But by using this, by offloading the human capability to the application and system, what we are trying to achieve. So we are making people more productive, that the human can do their job or channelize their, energy in some other task rather than putting the energies which can be done by the system or a machines. And that is the whole point the artificial intelligence is driving at the end of the day. Because that is the the goal or an objective of using artificial intelligence in different domains, in different verticals, in different business. Now, having said that, if you look into the evolutions of artificial intelligence, so artificial intelligence is composed of multiple dependent components like the machine learning, deep learning, and today we are talking about the generative AI. So artificial intelligence is a bigger subset. The machine learning is a subset of the artificial intelligence. Deep learning is a subset of the machine learning, and generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence where we can create new content in compared to the machine learning and deep learning from the traditional artificial intelligence. So traditional artificial intelligence is typically used to do the predictions, do some kind of classifications. They can tell whether it is apple or a orange, that kind of things. Traditional artificial intelligence is being used to make decisions within a business, like how many car to be manufactured. In next financial year, I want to know today as a manufacturer that I can plan accordingly. That is some kind of predictive artificial intelligence. In the field of languages and text, as I said, sentiment and other things, these are all tradition, analyzing the sentiment of a particular text, taking the key phrases of a text to know more about them, the talking point. So this is typically done in traditional artificial intelligence. But when you look into the generative AI, what is the talking point today? This is different from the traditional AI. So this AI, the generative AI, is responsible for creating new content based on your questions, what we call them as a prompt in context of generative AI. Now, while the generative AI is going to create a content for you, it could be in a form of text, it could be in a form of music, it could be in a form of videos, right? Could be a form of any audios. So these are the different type of content that generative AI can create based on your need. But you have to explain in front of the generative AI what kind of content that you would like to create, what you would like to generate. Now, here we are not going to go into the detail of the machine learning and deep learning because these are the underlying component of an artificial intelligence. Whether you are going and working with generative AI or a traditional AI, in both cases, you need to understand the inner working of the machine learning and deep learning. But collectively, the definition goes like this. The human learn, then human can reciprocate from their learning. So if I read a book today and tomorrow if somebody asks a questions related to the book, I mean, the concept that I have learned from the book or the informations that I have received from the book, I'll be able to tell people. If somebody asks about something related to the book, similarly, machine also can learn from the data. So machine can learn from the data by using algorithms. That is a set of program, and that program will dictate how the machine learning should learn from the data. And once they are learning from the data, they are also capable of predicting, they are also capable of identifying on the similar set of the data that is given to the machine learning and deep learning for learning. Like me, as I said, if I read a book, I should be able to tell everything about the book if somebody asks me a questions related to that particular book. And that is precisely how the machine learning and deep learning worked in behind in the field of artificial intelligence. Now, as I said, we will not go into the deep detail of the machine learning and the deep learning and their respective component in the field of artificial intelligence. So here we are going to explore only one part of the artificial intelligence, that is generative AI. So let's get started with that only. Now, I have already explained the definitions of generative AI, and we have already compared with the traditional AI, like, what traditional AI can do and what generative AI can do. So as I said before, it is a subset of the artificial intelligence from the diagram that you see, the representations that you can see. It is being used extensively for creating a content. So it is not like the generative AI won't be able to do the rest of the things that was done by the traditional AI. No. So generative AI model also can do all these things that you have done in the past, but the primary focus would be generating content. And that is the new things that is happening in the field of artificial intelligence. And that's why it is the talking point in today's context. Now, what is the backbone of generative AI? So backbone of the generative AI is the model, the machine learning and deep learning model, primarily the deep learning model. Now, what is model? So model is a kind of program that is being used to generate the new content. But how this program was built, how that model was built, by training on huge corpus of data in a form of text, in a form of image. As I said before, so I have given data to learn by the machine learning or deep learning. So eventually we get a model. And subsequently, that model can be used to generate the content based on what they have learned. It's precisely the same analogy will go. Like I read a book, if somebody asked a question, so I can reframe my answer, not exactly line by line that I will pick up from the a book that I read. So it means I'm generating a response from my brain. Similarly, the generating of the response in generative AI would be done by the model, because the model has learned from those data, like brain has learned from the book. Similarly, the model has learned from those data. And then the model will be able to create the response or create the answer, generate the answer and generate the response, what I'm talking about. Now, it's like the whole idea in the field of artificial intelligence is bringing human more closer to the applications, more closer to the system. And that's how it is called as an artificial intelligence, because they do not have emotions. They cannot think on their own. It is driven by a program. That's why it's an artificial intelligence. The human intelligence has the emotions. They can think on their own, you know. So that is not possible in artificial. Whatever is happening, it is being programmed. It is being instructed. It is being given context on what the artificial intelligence can work. So that's why the backbone of the generative AI, or in that case, any artificial intelligence product that today we talked about, is driven by the model, which is called the brain of those implementations or the creations, what we are talking about today. Now, having said that, what is the applications of generative AI? Now, as I categorically talks about the applications related to the text generations in order to write articles, stories, dialogues, blogs, right? What else? You can, as far as the text is concerned, so you should be able to write the prompt effectively and to get response. You want to write a poem, you can go to the generative AI text generations. You just need to set the narratives on what basis that you want to write a poem, a stories, right? All is possible. So we are going to go and look at the different use cases around the text generations to channelize your the thought process. But in general, what we are talking about, it could be the content. Relatively, it will go into a kind of application like chatbot. The chatbot is an implementation of conversational AI, right? So you can do the conversation with artificial intelligence by asking questions, by receiving answer. That's the moot point. So in this context, what we are talking about. So most of the business today use a chatbot as a primary conversation channels to the end customers. Rather than placing human to talk to the customers, they are going to place the chatbot, the artificial intelligence based applications will engage with the customers, making them aware of the product they wanted to buy, or they making the aware of the service they want to opt for, and so on and so forth. The contextually I'm talking about. So this is one of the most used artificial intelligence implementation or use cases in today's context, whether it is a traditional AI or whether it is a generative AI. In both cases, the chatbot would be the primary applications where you can go and start doing the conversations, start asking for the content, and chatbot will generate the content for you. Like, for example, you want to visit a particular place and you have not gone before in that particular place. You can ask through the chatbot to create an itineraries. How should I visit to that place? By knowing everything about the place, right from the climatic conditions to the economic status, how I can prepare myself before I landed there. So all these informations can be generated by using generative AI chatbot. So you don't have to ask anybody because generative AI is being trained on those informations from those places. While the generative AI was got created those model, the brain that I was talking about some time back. I'm just giving an example. The image generations, another application of the generative AI. So like text, we can generate the image also. For example, you are about to launch a product, but you are thinking that how am I going to design that product? Or maybe how am I going to create a logo to represent that particular product? Because that's how the creativity will come into the picture. So it means I can take help of the generative AI to create a logo based on my narratives, my descriptions, how my logo should be created, what kind of image that I'm looking for to represent my product, how my product will look like, all those things. So all kind of creative job in the field of, right, so working with the images can be delegated to the generative AI. So generative AI can do this job for us as a content creator. Suppose I'm about to do some kind of marketing campaign. So I need a couple of images to explain the marketing campaigns, what I'm trying to tell the rest of the world, what I'm trying to communicate to the rest of the world with the help of few images. I would like to represent those images in my marketing campaigns, use those images in my marketing campaign. And I can go and take the help from the image generators under the generative AI to create an unique images based on my narrative, how I want that image to be created. It would be original. It would be completely new. You can't find that image anywhere in the internet. The same goes to the text generation also. Whatever the text is going to be generated, it would be completely original. Like I said, I learned from the book, but why, while you ask me, I will frame my sentence and answer it. And that is original. So I will not read out line by line from the book that I read. So when I'm going to write, when I'm going to speak, I'll be putting my word in between. I'll be framing my sentence without losing the point of interest, the context that you have asked me the questions. And that is precisely the generative AI does, like human. And most interesting part of the generative AI, like, so you can talk to the generative AI like with using a human language. What do you mean by human language? Is a part of the NLP, natural processing languages. The human language means how we talk to our friends, how we are talking to our colleagues, the same kind of language that I can talk to the generative AI system and an application. They understand my intent, what I'm trying to do, what I'm looking for. Whichever way you go and talk to the generative AI, it is not to be grammatically correct. It is not to be a proper English or maybe any kind of language that you would like to use to communicate with the system. So that is the base part of the generative AI. It's work on the natural languages. It's like a human only. So human to human talk, the same thing, human to artificial talk is going to be the same. You can say, hello, how are you? So we usually talk to my friend. So now also we can go and talk to the AI. AI will come back and tell me, I'm good. What about you? And how can I help you today? So the AI understood my intent that I'm greeting like I greet to my friend, to my colleague, right? So that is very interesting in the field of generative AI, in the field of artificial intelligence itself. Music generations, the same concept goes in the video generations. Whatever I'm discussing from the text and the image, the same kind of concept would be applied to music. You can compose the music in order to create a new music, which is original music, what we are talking about at this moment. Creating a video by writing a prompt, what kind of video that you want to generate. The possibility is immense in the field of generative AI in order to create new content. That is the bottom line, or that is the takeaway from the generative AI as a subject, what we are about to get in. Now, as I said, the brain behind the generative AI is all about the models. The model can learn from the data, and subsequently model is responsible for doing all the tasks, right from the traditional to the generative AI. And those model can be a machine learning model or a deep learning model. So two techniques that we use in the field of artificial intelligence to learn from the data. So deep learning is more robust in compared to the machine learning because they can learn from the huge corpus of data in compared to the machine learning. And they can understand more complex data in compared to the machine learning. So that's why the generative AI model also based on the deep learning, the based on the neural network that is being extensively used behind your what you call behind the deep learning. The neural network means it is kind of the same, the architecture or same kind of the concept the human learned, same kind of the techniques the human used to learn, the similar kind of techniques also being used in the deep learning by creating the networks of neurons. So now, what are the models in the field of generative AI that we saw in the past? An innovations of generative AI model has happened in sometime 2014 till 2017 when the transformer model was created. And from then till now, and this is the era of the generative AI. So transformer model, before that, the variational autoencoder, before that, generative adversarial network. So these are different model. The idea behind those model was to create, to generate new content. And those model is being used in the past in different type of applications for creating new content. The transformer become more stable, which was created sometime in 2017, a team from the Google with a title called Attention All You Need. That was the title of this transformer model. And the transformer model has completely changed the field of generative AI implementations in order to generate content, right? So in order to generate the content could be in a form of images or videos or musics and the text, as I said before also. But the point what I'm trying to say, you can go and learn more about what is transformer model, what is variational encoders, what is generative adversarial network. But you need to know the evolutions of the generative model, and you need to know what model does, because models are repeatedly, I'm talking about the backbone of artificial intelligence. They can learn from the data. They can subsequently do things based on our need without human. That I don't need human to generate content, write an essay, write an article, write a blogs, draw enemies. I don't need human today. That can be done with the help of generative AI. But who actually does this job? The model, who learn from the data, images or videos or music in order to create new set of text or new set of images, new set of musics, and new set of the videos. But since I said the transformer model was a talking point, like, everybody talks about transformer model, which was a kind of introduced in the year 2017. I have already explained that. And transformer model is being a kind of talking point in the field of generative AI, because today modern generative AI model is based on the transformer model. So the core idea of the transformer model, or core kind of the benefit, or what we call them as benefit, or the core, the moot point of the transformer model is that they can generate the content without losing the context. They understand the context well. Context means when I say good morning, the context is means I'm trying to greet the person whom I'm talking to. That is a context. So in answer, it should not be something else. I'm eating or I'm walking. So we are not expecting that kind of response. We are saying, okay, good morning. Because the intent of my prompt or my questions to be understood by the model and subsequently respond on that basis without losing the context. So it may be a one word, or it may be a two word, it may be a three word, or it may be a couple of sentences to answer the good morning, the word that I used. So I can definitely, I mean, AI or maybe the other person can definitely give me an answer, good morning to me, and Subsequently, I'm here. How can I help you today? Or based on the context where I am asking the questions, in what context they have to answer them. So transformer model is extremely critical in that front to generate the content without losing the point of interest, without losing the intent, what collectively we call them as a context. The context is being always taken care of. Typically, that is not going to happen in a day-to-day basis that we do. I'm just giving a very lighter example. If you write a message from your mobile phone using a WhatsApp application, and you start with a two-word like hello, how. The moment you say hello, how, the next word will pop in. Are. The next word will pop in you. So in WhatsApp application, also they can tell me what would be the next word. But if you keep on picking up the word that WhatsApp is giving for some time, suppose eventually you have realized that, okay, you have got maybe the 50 words that you pick up from the WhatsApp by just picking up, simply picking up what is being next word given by the WhatsApp. But if you now read from the top to bottom what was generated by the WhatsApp, that does not make any sense. You can try this out because they will lose the context in between. They cannot keep the context entirely. What is being generated by the application itself? They don't take the responsibility of the context till the end, as long as you are going and picking up the word, or maybe as long as you continue doing this. When you stop sometime and you go back and you realize that no, the sentence or a paragraph that is being generated by the WhatsApp does not make any sense now. So it means we need to help. It means they are not capable of doing on their own. Then we have to selectively go and what I want. And that is something the transformer does not take help from the human to create the content without losing the context. That they are capable of retaining the context. They're capable of creating the sentence by putting word appropriately, making no mistake. Right? So that's how the transformer model become the talking point among the data scientists at that point in time, and to start doing innovations in the field of generative AI using a transformer model as a base model. And on top of that, they are going to innovate more by putting more parameters and so on and so forth. Now, as I was saying that quickly, some time back, I said that this job of the transformer model to generate the content. So it could be in a form of word or a sentence. So like I'm writing a kind of a text here. So write a story. The transformer is given me once. That is the most appropriate word after this. If I give write a story by telling once, then the most appropriate word the transformer is giving me. I'm just breaking down just to make you understand what precisely the transformer does, whether it is one word or two word or three word or entire sentence or paragraph, but the concept is the same. Eventually, we are going to get a paragraphs or a articles or something else, what you really want to generate at the end of the day. But it starts with the kind of techniques, the kind of, the algorithms that is being used by the model to produce this kind of response that we are expecting, so without making mistake. Now, this transformer model have couple of components. So I do not want to go into the depth of those components by just to give a quick what you call insight to that. So all the transformer based model which is being used today in generative AI to generate the new content need to use called tokenization. Now, tokenization means that your prompt, your questions that you have written in front of the generative AI is going to convert it into the token. The token can be, suppose, for example, hello, how are you? In that sentence, if I tokenize this sentence, the hello is one token, how is another token, R would be another token. So essentially what I'm saying, that token is a kind of component that transformer understand to use those token for the activities they will be doing internally to generate the new word. So that is something what is being done by internally the transformer. So token is all about equivalent to the word that is being used in my prompt, or maybe sometimes the sub word. Depends on what kind of tokenization strategy that I am implementing in my task. But net, so your prompt is going to be converted in a set of tokens. But for quick understanding, one word could be one token. Sometimes the one character can be also a token. That we need to figure out the based on the tokenization strategy. The next part is the embedding. Now, embedding is one kind of techniques that is used in transformer model to represent all the text in a form of vector, the number. So there is a say that the human like text, but the machines will like numbers. So whatever the text that I have given to the transformer model, that is going to be translated, that is going to be converted into a numeric representations in a form of vectors. The set of numbers will represent my word called hello. The set of number is going to represent my word called how are you. Every word will be representing, every token is going to represent with a number. And that is being done by the embedding, what you call as a text embedding or an image embedding, or maybe a video embedding, and so on and so forth. Positional encoding is a kind of technique that is being used, that like suppose I'm writing a sentence, that every word in a sentence has to be intact. If you change the sequence of those words, the entire sentence may give you a different meaning. How do you ensure that? So we need to keep track of the positional identification of those tokens, or maybe the text that I have sent to the generative model. The transformer block was responsible for generating the next word or a sentence, what we are talking about. And the softmax will finally produce what I am looking for. What would be the ultimate word, or what would be the ultimate a sentence or a paragraphs or an articles or a blogs or anything for that point in time, my itineraries and so on and so forth. And that is where we can go and kind of see this. This is the logical representation of the transformer model. So I'm giving a text as an input, write a story. My transformer has to go and complete that. Is the first word, and subsequently the rest of the word is going to be generated. But for your understanding, this is the black box. This is something what we call as a neural network from the deep learning, who will learn from the input and try to produce the output using a softmax, which is basically do a scoring So what is the appropriate word? I can take it to the end user, that is decided by the softmax once it is done by the series of transformer block. And this is where the logic that I was talking about, attention all you need for the text in order to generate the new content happen within this particular set of boxes, the neural network from the deep learning architecture, what we have discussed. Now, today, the people started talking about the model called as a GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which is based on the transformer model architecture, what we have discussed some time back in my previous deck. So whether it is GPT-2 or GPT-3 or 3.5 or a 4 or 4.0 from the OpenAI, this all the models today used to generate the new content is based on the transformer model. Of course, the GPT is an advanced version of the transformer, the traditional one, but the architecture is the transformer model, what we have discussed. So if I'm giving an input like recipe, the first law of robotics, and my GPT-3 model is generating this content, a robot may not injure a human being. That would be the first law of robotics. Now, having said that, so we have understood by now the model is the core of the generative AI. The model is the core of the generative AI. The GPT-3 is just a one example of a model. There are many models created by different vendors. We can consume the model by using APIs, by using different interface that has been given by the vendor itself. We are going to go and talk about those in some time from now. Practically, we are going to see them, how this can be used. All right. So with that, what I'm going to go and do this now, as I said, the model is the core of everything that we do in generative AI. In fact, for that matter, your the traditional AI also, which is driven by the model. That would be a machine learning or deep learning model. And here is a generative AI model. Now, this generative AI is being an AI model is being categorically divided into two: foundation model and the large language model. Now, foundation models are more generic, like, the LLM would be a subset of the foundation model. That is a relations between the foundation model. So foundation model can be used for many occasions to do many things by just using foundation model. Many things means the same model can be used to create text, create image, and so on and so forth. Or maybe in different use cases, the same model, because the foundation model is more generic in their behaviors. But the large language model would be more specific to do something specific to your business or specific to your own context and so on and so forth. So this foundation model could be adaptable to numerous applications through the fine tuning also, like we can put our own data on top of the foundation model to mold my foundation model according to my need. Because the foundation model may not be aware of my own private data. I can do the fine tuning of this model. It means retrain the existing model. That's what we call as a fine tuning by incorporating the data from my end. All right. So then few examples like at this moment, so you won't be kind of familiar with those name that I'll be taking, like T5s or something like a clip. So you may not work with those model, but it is for a name. the few models that comes under the foundation model that you can see, which is more generic in their nature. So their behaviors, like they can do multiple things from using the same model. But having said that, the large language model, as I said, more specific, especially the focus on understanding and generating the human language, because that's how the large language model will be coming into the picture, not generating kind of the images or videos, because that is primarily related to the NLP, the natural language. Okay, the processing would be so more the language driven, the text driven model will be aligned with this kind of model what we are talking about. And on top of that, it is specific to a particular domain where I would like to use this model to generate the content. Like for example, the GPT-3 by OpenAI, or 3.5 by the OpenAI, GPT-4 by the OpenAI, BERT, the bidirectional encoder presentation for the transformer by the Google. These are the two kind of model of in the field of the large language model families that is being used extensively today by our applications to generate the text, generate the new content. Now, having said that, what is kind of model that we can see at this moment? The primary job of the model to learn from the data and do the job accordingly after learning from the data. So job could be generating the new content, taking decisions, predicting, classifications, and so on and so forth. This is the typical job of any model, whether it is a LLM or a foundation model or a machine learning model or a deep learning model from the traditional AI. Everybody does the same. Everybody work on the same concept, what we are talking about, learning from the data and subsequently do what they're supposed to do. Right. So because we are primarily talking about the large language model, what we have already said before also. So we can name couple of them, which is being used extensively today from the foundation model point of views. But not only that, you should be aware of the list of the popular foundation model tomorrow if we have to get into the space of the generative AI. I keep saying that model is the backbone. The model is the brain of the generative AI who does everything that we would like to see from the generative AI. Okay. So these are the few names the people started kind of using very often, like GPT from the OpenAI, whether it is 3, 4 or 4.0 or Codex. The Codex is more aligned with generating the code for the developers. Today, the developer will not write the code on their own. You have to write what kind of code that you want as a prompt. So your generative AI would be able to write a code on behalf of the developers. You just need to fix the bug while you are compiling the code before we take them to the production. But the most of the job of the developer is done by the generative AI. So what are the most popular, the foundation model that we can talk about? So you can go to the list of this, just a quick one.
What does it mean, parameters?
Yes, so you can go through this list that you can see right there, like sitting on the GPT-4, DALI 2, and from different vendors that is coming and what uh, in which year those model was introduced, and it is a continuous process. We are going to see more model upcoming during this year and the next year, and this would be the area where the extensive innovation is going to happen in the coming days. But there is a last column you can see. It talks about the parameters. Talks about the parameters in the last the columns that you can see right there. Now, this parameter is basically uh, identifies how robust that model could be. Like in GPT-4, the OpenAI has used 175 billion parameters. It means the 175 billion way of learning from the data. The parameters means is a kind of instructions to the model, the algorithms, while they will learn from the data. That's why it's become really, really robust. Like you can see 540 billions, it's not million. So wherever you see the billions of the parameters, it means those models would be really, really robust, really, really kind of the strong model in terms of or capabilities wise. Also you can see the GPT-4 is one of the talking point today. The people are using to kind of create to generate the content. Now, like those model, maybe there are two type of model eventually we are going to use. The one would be a licensed version of the model. The another would be an open source. The open source that we don't pay upfront, but yes, we can take this model, we can fine tune, we can deploy within our own ecosystem and consume from our application. So open source model is driven by the communities across the globe. They contribute to the technologies that can help a human to enhance the productivities. The generative AI is one of them. The people are working freely and bringing their innovations in the field of generative AI by creating models. And that is being made available to the rest of the world that people can consume and people can use and people can fine tune, people can deploy on their own infrastructure or ecosystem and subsequently consume from their application. Now, having said that, now we talk about models, and this is the model that we have been saying that yes, this is the brain of the generative AI. Whether I'm taking model from the open source or maybe from the license, the vendors one, the proprietary one, eventually the task that we are talking about generating new content, that is not going to change what is being produced eventually. But we need to know that how practically this model is used to generate the content. And of course, with the help of some interface and the tools that is available in front of us today from those vendors. Like ChatGPT is one product from the OpenAI, Google Gemini from the Google. Previously, it was called as a Bard, Google Bard, BARD. Then the Hugging Face mainly collaborating the open source model by giving an interface that I can make use of the model to do the conversations. Stable diffusions from the vendor like uh, the stable diffusion. Diffusion is a model which is primarily used for generating content like image and the videos kind of stuff. The Mid Journey also another vendor, Jasper AIs and the Meta from the Facebook. So you are going to go and see those platforms, tools, and the interface through which you can generate the content by using the model that we have discussed from that list. And it would be a mix of the proprietary model as well as the open source model. But every model has their own capabilities. So you have to spend time and reading the model capabilities, the descriptions and the definitions, and you should be able to kind of the figure out what model is precisely uh, that would be aligned to your the workload or you are looking for. Okay, so with that, I am going to go with the demos, what I have been talking about, that you can take a look. I'll be using a couple of tools and the interface that I discuss here, and starting with one of the most popular interface called ChatGPTs from the OpenAI. And that is what I'm going to use and kind of showcase what possibly we can do with the, the model that we talked about, the generative AI model, the foundation models and the LLM, what we have discussed. Behind this interface, the ChatGPT is a product that will come to us as an interface that I can interact with the model in order to generate response by typing prompt, by writing prompt. Okay, so let's get into the demo now then. So let me see this kind of. I will take you to my workstation. So I'll be just in the workstation now. Okay. So first I will go to the ChatGPT as a product from the OpenAI. So I can go to the openai.com. And we get into this openai.com, as you can see on the screen right there. And then we can go straight to the products and get to see the first product they are talking about, the ChatGPT. Right? So if I go to the product link, we can see the product, the ChatGPT for everyone, for teams, for enterprise. These are the different edition of this ChatGPT product. And we can go and log into the interface to avail that product by enrolling myself into this product. Okay, so you can see that. And now I can straight go to this product now by just going into login into this ChatGPT. So that's what I was talking about, the ChatGPTs. It is an interface where I can go and start writing my prompt. But before I go and write the prompt, I can select the list of models. And this is what we have been discussing. GPT 3.5 available in my GPT chat GPT interface, GPT-4, GPT-4o. So GPT-4o is the latest one in the family of GPT. Right? So generative pre-trained transformer model, what we have been discussing. in the previous deck, the PPT that I was explaining. And this is the model created by the OpenAI. So OpenAI is an organization, LLP, who, who primarily working extensively in the field of generative AI and creating those models and making those models available to the customers. And they are also into the subscription model, like, so I can subscribe to this chat GPT, that I will be able to use those model while I'm generating the content by writing the prompt. Okay, so now I have selected, as you can say, GPT-4o. That is what I have selected. And then we got GPT-4 also. I can keep selecting GPT-3 also. This is the old model. So you can see the difference in the content generations. But I don't want to go and create some kind of the differentiations between those model. So I can make use of one model, which is the latest one, which is the robust one. And it is the Omni version of GPT-4, where 175 billion parameter is being used to create the model at OpenAI. And that is a kind of robustness that we are bringing into this particular interface and start writing prompt to generate the content. So I can start with something like, hello, just simply say hello. So you can see this is the contextual content got created because they understood that I'm trying to greet that person, that AI, not a person here. So it's an AI which is acting as a person, and I'm talking to that system or applications using human language. But I can go further and say, what is your age? If you are a human talk, we can write this kind of, but what kind of response that we are getting, that is something very interesting. It says, as I am an AI created by OpenAI, I do not have an age in the artificial intelligence in the traditional sense. I was trained using data up until September 2001. And my current iteration based on the GPT-4 architecture was released in 2023, and so on and so forth. And coming back to the point, how can I help you today? So it's a human language to understand with clarities every prompt, every questions that we are asking to those model, which is sitting behind this interface. In our case, would be GPT-4. Now, if I go and say, what is the population of India? This is the questions that I am asking. So he said, as on of 2024, the population of India approximately 1.44 billion people. And they have given a bit more information with China also. But what about, if I say, what about any country that we talk about? Right? But I did not ask what is the populations of Nepal. So I simply saying, what about Nepal? So it means, did I ask what is the population of Nepal? No. So it means, like, when two human talks, they can retain the context, the talking point. It means it's assumed that next upcoming questions would be in the same context. like human does. So how intelligently the AI understand that I have to go and only produce the content related to the populations, although the user has not explicitly written a prompt by asking a populations, because my conversation's topic is on population. So keeping the context of the conversation is extremely important. That is typically done in human nature, in the human behavior, and that is being implemented in the field of generative AI today, what we see at this moment. Right? So this is kind of quick intro. Now point is, if I have to go and say, okay, what are the different way that generative AI is going? Because I'm just giving a quick one only. Like for example, if I want to go and do some kind of translations, the one of the use cases, I want to do a translation of the text using a generative AI. So I can say, translate when is the breakfast served into Spanish. And I can just read it. This is what we got in Spanish. So I can edit this existing ones by changing a language out here, right? So this is something. So this is something what we can see at this moment, and we can go further. Like somebody wants to write a JD, job descriptions of a particular job in a particular language before they can advertise in a local newspaper for that localities. So we can also first translate it into a particular language. So this is something what we can see and read, or we can listen to what is being generated for this. So it is not only basically a translating from one language to another language without losing the context what I have asked, but we can make it happen for a different use cases like writing JDs, or maybe writing a particular recipe in a particular language for a particular food preparations that people understand by that language only to prepare that. So you can go on and thinking as long as you want to generate the contents by using generative AI, what we are looking at. Right? Like you want to do a kind of summarizations, writing a summary of an article. That is also another use cases. I said, go to this Wikipedia page and write a summary by reading that Wikipedia page who talks about Boeing 747. And this is what we got. Right? Or maybe we can control the response also by changing the format. So use the bulleted list of summarize the article and not more than 5 bullets. That is the instruction that you are giving. Right? So that's how we got this content. Or you can make it more informative and also compare with that. So without losing the context, we are just keep generating the content one after another based on my need. You want to do some kind of research, you can take help of the generative AI. Like, so you said, what is the population of each country in Europe? That is the first prompt that you are writing, because you want to do some kind of research in the population growth of the European countries, and you are taking help of generative AI to give all the informations that you need, that you can incorporate them into your research that you will be doing. So this is a kind of list of countries that you can see right there. Right. So here we go and make another one. Please format as a table and order it from the largest and the smallest population, something like this. And contextually, we can keep going on and on because we are doing the research here. The next prompt that we are writing here, add also the population growth in a percentage in last 5 years. Right, so that is also possible. And then also that you want to use from your Python program. So you want a particular format of this data. You can also go and format the data as a comma separated values. Right, so you can do that also. The formatting. So you can do the plannings. You can go and make use of this. So for developer, as a developer, you want to write a code by writing a prompt, something like this. Write a function in C# or a Python that goes through a list of book that includes the rating for each book and calculate the average rating of the whole list. That is a problem statement that you are giving in order to generate a code that the developer is supposed to write the code. But now you are taking help of generative AI to write a code behalf of the developer. So here we go with this. Now, without telling everything, you just simply say write in Python also. You do not have to tell what they have to write in Python because the context is the same. Right? So you can see without making mistake, the same is being translated to the, and you can say write a test case. Python. Right? You can go on and on. So you can say add the documentations to the code. Explaining everything that is being written, that is being. So the power of the generative AI is unbelievable. You can see right away. So it can help us in every aspect of our life, wherever we feel like creating content, because the code also come under the same category. The code is all about the content that you have to create. from the developer point of views. You can also generate some sample data that you want to use in the code by telling like this: create a list of 10 movies with the following details: the movie name, year of release, length of the movies, and the box office performance, and the format the list in the JSON array. So let's see that. So you see the movies and the length and the release and the box office collections and so on and so forth. But you forgot to add one more properties there, and you can go and write this also, add the director name also in that existing list. You can see the director name also being added to the existing list, which was missing from the previous one. So anytime you can go and change the schema of your data by altering the properties that you want to see with the values. Now it is in the JSON, but if you can ask the generative AI also invent your own format, like, you can just go and say, okay, put this data in your own format, invent your own format to represent this data. And that is something what is being unique generated for us. Okay, so you can see this, what we said in context of generating the text-based the content that we see. So there may be multiple use cases that you will come across to implementation point of view, like how you want to implement the Gen AI in your own context that you can figure out, but you can see the possibility around the generative AI while you'll be creating the content. So another thing that we talked about, that creating image. Now, there are different models for creating image. The DAL-E 2 or 3 is most popular model from the OpenAI for generating image. So you can go back and talk about the DAL-E here also. There is a DAL-E 3. So if you go there, it's a DAL-E 3 is being used to generate the content. So this kind of image can be generated by writing the prompt. This was generated in the DAL-E 2 and this is generated in DAL-E 3. And this is the prompt that we can see. But the DAL-E is not a separate product today from the OpenAI. The DAL-E is being integrated with the ChatGPT that we are currently working with this. But ChatGPT, not on the normal one, you have to buy a ChatGPT Plus. Like if you see my plan, so currently I am enrolled with this ChatGPT Plus. That cost you approximately $20 per month. So the free version of the ChatGPT will not let you use the DAL-E model to generate the images. What we are looking at this moment. And this is a kind of, you can see the kind of image generated by writing the prompt that we are talking about. So it's a very, very important from the content creations point of views. How the image can be created with the help of artificial intelligence. It's amazing. By writing a prompt that what we are talking about. So if I go and write the same prompt here, because now ChatGPT Plus will allow me to generate the image also, not the video. As of now, the video is not being integrated with this Plus, but the image is possible. So we can go and write a prompt. So here we say create an expressive oil painting of a chocolate chips cookies being dipped in a glass of milk, dedicated as an explosions of the flavors. Like, this is a thought process that you want to bring out through an image by creating the original, the content, by using the model, the DAL-E, which is integrated with the GPT Plus as a multi-model at this moment, who can do both, who can create image and who can create text also. And this is what the image that we get. You can do anything, any kind of image, like for example, so if I say create a picture of a dog, that is your imagination, flying in the blue sky. Okay, so that is your imaginations that you are going after. So you can and that is the image that we said. Here is a whimsical image of a dog flying in the blue sky. The dog looks joyful and carefree, soaring among fluffy white cloud. And that is they enjoy the fantastical scene that what we are looking at this moment. So this is what is the creations that what we are talking about. So creating the text, creating images, creating musics, which is not possible from this GPT interface at this moment. So you have to use a different one. But to get an idea of what is possible, you can see out there. So we can go back to the another one is the Sora, which is basically to generate the videos. There's a model called Sora, like DAL-E, and you can see there are few images got a few video got generated by using this model with this prompt. Okay, so this is the prompt that is being written out there. Fine, so you can see those from how this video got generated and so on and so forth. So you write the prompt to generate image, you write the prompt to generate text, you write the prompt to generate videos, you write the prompt to generate any text. So you can see the kind of prompt that you are writing here. Right. So these are a few innovations that is happening in the field of generative AI. The only just you need to go and select the respective vendors and the respective, what you call the model from the vendors. And then you can build your own application. Yes. So you should be able to kind of create your custom also. Custom kind of solutions out of those model that you can see right from here itself. Just give a minute. Hope you have understood the overall kind of inner workings and the implementation of the generative AI using OpenAI. Like OpenAI, as I said, you can go to the other, the tools and the interface. And this one for OpenAI, this is from the OpenAI and this is from the Google. So gemini.google.com and app. So if you go there, so you are going to be greeted, but you need to log in with your Gmail account, and you are going to get almost similar kind of interface that we have worked with the chat GPTs to generate the new content. This is one of them. You have to figure out what we can go and do with this. But this is also, you can start with like, hello, like we start with the previous chat GPTs. And again, we can say, what is your age? The same kind of conversations we are into, like what we did from the GPT. Now Gemini is another model, the same kind of response that you can see. What is the population? Right. So that is what you get. And for contextual, just to, without losing the context, that is what you get to see. So I did not have to ask explicitly about the populations. So these are different tools. The Gemini is more into integrations with different kind of application that you can see. Okay, so yeah, this is being integrated. Suppose if you want to find videos from an YouTube by telling the Gemini, so they will find the best video from the YouTube also. So these are different kind of integrations. Suppose you want to visit a particular okay, so this is where you can see like what kind of the implementation in terms of creating the content that we can do. So like I can use this kind of the prompt, like you are a local guide giving me a travel tips for Tokyo's and draft a 3 days travel itinerary showing me the most popular places in the cities. So they have gone and fetched the data from those applications which is already being collaborated with the data, like going into some kind of travel.coms or so on and so forth, and fetching data and composing them based on the prompt that I have asked, and subsequently giving me the response. Okay, now from the open source point of views, you can go to another interface. Another interface, just a minute. And this interface is coming from the huggingface.co and working with the chat, because this is also going to give an interface that we can do the chatting with the models. Now, what are the models that we can see out there? So we can see different models out here. So the list of the model that I can select one of them. These are the open source model. Like one of the model, like coming from the Metas. Sorry. Go to the model one. So I can select the model from the Meta. This is the Llama model from the Meta. And I can start going and asking like, hello, the same thing that we asked last time from the previous two interface. By using respective model. One was GPT, another was Gemini, and now we are using Llama from the Meta. That is the open source one at this moment. And I'm trying to do the conversations using this interface and all the content that is going to be generated by the model that we select as a backbone of this particular interface that we are currently working. So we say, what is it? Right? So we can go the same. What? Right? So this model only knows, you see the difference between this model. So this model is only, because last time we get 1.44 billion. Now we got 1.38 billion, because this model, according to this knowledge of this model back from the 2021, the response is coming. But in GPT-4, it is giving me the latest one. That's how you can take a call which model is more updated, which model is more robust in order to give you the latest informations that you are asking. But both is generating content, only we need to figure out the validate that the timeline of those model, when those model was created, the train, and now currently we are using from our own interface that we need to see. But we can also do it by just looking at the web also. We can go and say, what is the... So I have said this. If you do not have this knowledge, go and find from the internet and compile a content for me. And this is being now enabled. Now it will take some time to generate the content, because they're looking at the internet with the latest informations they can find and compiles. So this is something coming in 2024 like this. Some kind of... Okay, so this is what are relevant informations they can find at this moment, what is capable of this, they will give you some information. Okay, so that may not be acceptable to you, then you have to go back and change your model to get the appropriate one, right? So we can go and select something else maybe, and we can go and write the same one what we have written before. So you need to do a permutation and combinations by selecting a model until you get what you want. But in the list of the model, the GPT is always on the top of the list. So GPT will be able to give you what exactly that you are looking for. And if it is not, you can always do the fine tuning on the existing, the foundation model, what we have learned from the previous one. Okay, so now another point is that, like, although practically that I'm not going to do this, but just to quickly take you through a couple of more concepts by bringing you to my presentation. So from the cloud point of view, so these are the three main cloud platform today we work with. Now, generative AI models are available in all three clouds. And these are the few names that I just the picked up, like Azure OpenAI, who is going to give us that kind of the functionalities what just now we are experiencing by connecting to the models, the foundation models through which we can generate the content. Similarly, Bedrock from the AWS and the Vertex AI from the Google Cloud Platform. For the name only. So we do not have time to go back and explore all the cloud platform, but you need to know because today the cloud platform is being extensively used in other workload, not in the generative AI, but if the generative AI is being going on your way, coming on your way tomorrow, so you can consider the cloud platform also to build the solutions around those services that is being readily available or offered by the cloud vendors. It is important from the generative AI point of views. So what is being given to us from the cloud? Okay, so another subject of the generative AI is a prompt engineering. I said this just to quickly give you an insight to the prompt engineering. Like we have been talking about the prompt. The prompt is an input text that you are giving to the generative AI, the input. But the most important part of this text is that how you are writing the text. That depends what you are going to get. So you can write a very basic without giving detail to the LLM or a foundation model. Then you are also going to get response accordingly. But if you want more detail, then your prompt has to be more descriptive, more elaborative. So it's all about how you would be able to narrate, how you are able to describe what you want to the LLM. You are going to get the similar response, the similar kind of content from the LLM. So there is a subject in the generative AI, what we call as a prompt engineering, right? Who will, that prompt engineering will come up with some set of rules or a tips and a tricks to tell us or to kind of guide us how to write an effective prompt in order to maximize the response relevantness. So how that response would be relevant to what you have asked, how do you go and maximize? That lies on the prompt that you are writing. So that's how the subject of the prompt engineering has come into the field of generative AI, because at the end of the day, you'll be generating the content. But the most importantly, what kind of prompt that you are writing? Is it a very kind of abstract prompt you are writing? Then you are going to get an abstract answer also. Or if you are writing an elaborating prompt, if you're giving some example along with the prompt, how you want your response to be made, all would be coming in the field of prompt engineering, in the subject of the prompt engineering. Because if you want to eliminate those points they are talking about, like hallucinations, one of the problem of the LLM, because if I ask questions, if the LLM does not know about your the answer about the questions that you have asked, they will try to fabricate with the answer. This is what we call as a hallucinations. So how do you eliminate the hallucinations? By writing an effective prompt. You have to categorically go back and tell the LLM, if you do not know, do not try to fabricate with your answer. You can tell it. You can tell, because we use human language to communicate with the LLM. Do not forget the principle of conversations with LLM. So like I can ask someone, do this, do not do this. You can also go and tell through your prompt what you want and what we do not want. And this is precisely the prompt engineering talks about. So to end with this, as I said, there are some use cases that I'm going to bring in. So where the generative AI is being used extensively in today's, the banking and finance, insurance and high techs, pharmaceuticals, healthcare and retail and commerce, everywhere the generative AI is used. And you can see the area of implementations under the field, under the domain that I'm just bringing in through this deck. Okay, so net, what we are saying that yes, it is all about generative AI today. You talk about any business, any verticals and any domain, generative AI is going to come on your way. Like education, manufacturing, capital market, in stock market, and consumer good and service, travels and automotives, everywhere generative AI presence you can see today. So time has come to start going back to the technology and learn and build your own solutions to solve problem at your organizations, for your customers, for your vendors. So with that, I'm winding up this today's session. Thank you, everyone. So now the 10 minutes that I'm here to kind of, uh, if you have any questions, what so far we have been discussing. So over to Dinesh, if you are there.
Thank you so much, Navajyoti. Thanks for the wonderful session. Uh, Participants, please unmute yourself if you have any questions. Please feel free to ask
Yeah,
or
hi
leave.
Navjyoti. This is Varun.
Yeah, Varun, go ahead.
Okay, so this generative AI getting all the information from internet, is it? Or
No, the yeah. So yes, we have to go back to the fundamental of generative AI. As I said, generative AI brain is the model. I said that, right? The model. Now, like OpenAI as a vendor has created those model. Like we do our brain, and if you ask me a questions, I can tell from my learning, and it will come right from my brain. So generative AI also use a model to generate the content based on the prompt. Now the model has to learn before, so only after learning the model can tell what I am asking, right? So this
correct.
model is being used by the organization to learn from the data, yes, from the internet or maybe ebooks or maybe Wikipedias. Yes, I mean, there may be multiple sources they use by the model to learn from. And they are ready to answer our question. They are ready to generate the content like human
And
does.
correct. And do we have any chances to get the wrong answer also? As well
Of
as
course.
if let's suppose any company data we are looking for. So,
Mhm.
is there any chances we are breaching the code of conduct or any sensitive data he's trying to get from the company. So any chances for that? And we are
No,
getting obviously.
yeah, according to the compliance and the policies, the model will only learn from the public data, not from the private data. Like, for example, you work for an organization A. Now, employee policy of the organization A is not being used by the OpenAI while they have trained those models, right? So now if I go and ask the OpenAI model like GPT-4, tell me something about the employee policy of organization A. No, that is not possible because the OpenAI model like GPT-4 and GPT-3 does not have access to your organization's private data. But anything which is publicly available, they learn from
Mhm.
it and they will be able to compile, they will be able to generate the content out of the learning and give it to you collectively. So in
Okay,
that
okay,
case, so what will happen if I want to use a generative AI to answer the query of your organization's employee related query? Then you have to build your own model based on the foundation model come from the OpenAI. Means you will be taking the base model from the OpenAI. You will get your employee detail, I mean employee policy detail, and retrain within your organizations and deploy it within your organizations as a new model, and your application, the chatbot within your organization will use the new model that you have created who knows everything about your employees. But the original
okay,
model that you get from the OpenAI does not know anything about the employee policy of your organization. But you got your own model, means by fine tuning. But there are different way of doing it. The one is the fine tuning, other would be a RAG, that is called retrieval augmented generations, by using the vector database and so on and so forth. Okay,
correct,
so
correct.
if you want to make this generative AI private to your organizations, the possibility is that you can do it
Okay,
Hi,
always.
okay,
Nabhi.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I have a quick question. So, when we say the basic model is
Foundation
taking
model,
the
yes.
foundation
Yeah,
model, yeah, foundation model
yes,
is taking the information from the public domain, right? So,
yes.
is there any scope for because I am the automation tester, so I just want to know, is there any scope for the automation testing, manual testing? Like definitely they have exposed their APIs, and the foundation model will take that information to produce the to generate the information for the end user. So, is there any scope for testing? Any kind of testing, automation testing or manual testing, or how the testing is done in the base foundation model?
Absolutely. So in fact, about as we said, the along with the foundation model, you get a LLM also. LLM is a large language model which is specific to a particular domain or particular context. Now,
Okay.
suppose if you want to know more about a finance, about a manufacturing, about your context, what you are talking about, there are specific LLM also. You have to figure out, you have to go to the LLM repositories, which is coming from the Hugging Face, which is coming from the NVIDIA, which is coming from the Coherent, which is coming from the Microsoft, which is coming from the OpenAI. So you have to find those model which is
Okay.
specific to your type of the business that we are seeing. Maybe a healthcare, maybe a kind of the hospitalities, or maybe a retail, or maybe an education. So you get domain specific LLM also, who can answer the contextual answers that you would be looking for. Yes, it is
Okay. Okay.
available.
Okay. And then how the testing is get involved in these cases? Like suppose like LLM is get introduced or basic foundation is start building up, or I need to create my own model on the top of the foundation. So
Absolutely,
definitely there is
absolutely,
testing.
absolutely. Hmm.
Okay.
So foundation model in the case of testing would be made, but what you want to test specific to your context, you have to remodel that. That's what I'm repeatedly saying. So by
Okay.
fine tuning, by using a kind of RAG, retrieval augmented generations, there are different technique to do that. Yes.
Got it.
The
Got it.
possibility is there. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks.
Is there any other question? You can also use chat box. If you don't want to unmute yourself, we will read your question and answer.
Navajyoti sir,
Up.
for presentation, which AI we should use?
Presentation means PPT presentation.
PPT, right? PPT.
Okay. You can go to the GPT and you can ask that you can give a topic that I have a presentation tomorrow. I want to create a kind of agenda and detailed presentations. They will not create a PPT one. They will be giving the content that you can copy paste in your PPT.
Okay.
So you have to write a prompt like create a content for my presentations on a topic called generative AI, on a topic called machine learning, and a topic called deep learning. So you
So
have to
if
give
I
a
share
topic
the
and ask.
topic, if I
Hmm.
share my topic which I have, so they
Hmm.
will generate. For
So
say
you
I
will
have
be
some
giving,
topic.
yeah, go ahead.
For say sir, we have some topic regarding my data for my review or business presentation. I am
Mm-hmm.
giving this data. So
Mm-hmm.
क्या ये AI create करेगा? It will create the
Exactly,
presentation.
correct. No, it will do this. You have to give a data if you want the data to be incorporated in the presentation or report or any kind of report that you can create from an Excel, from a Word documents, summaries, putting into a kind of bulleted list that I can present. All kind of stuff can be done on your own data. That is
Okay,
also
sir.
possible.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And you can, Abhijit, you can also use, the tools like beautiful.ai, right? That will create your presentation automatically.
Sir,
It
come
is
again once.
again
Hmm.
beautiful.ai. That is a,
Beautiful.
AI tool help the people to, create the automated presentation by passing some, the values or some, content to it.
Okay, sir.
It's a matter of hardly, 3 to 5 minutes. You can have a very beautiful presentation using some of AI tools.
Sir, can you write in the chat box?
Sure. Is there any other question?
Hi, this is Prithvi. I have one question. So, what we understand is like, ChatGPT 3.5 is a free version and it is, up to date till September 2021. And so is it like, the paid version 40, 40 or a 4 paid version, is it up to date? Like, it will fetch the runtime information?
Yes, so now we have to understand the capability between the between the foundation model. Like if you use a GPT 3.5 or GPT 3, I'm just talking about from one vendor only.
Yeah.
So in that case, the GPT 3.5 do not have the capability of getting data from the internet at real time.
Okay.
But if you go to the GPT 4.0, the latest one, that capability is being incorporated. Now, if you ask something, if the original model, when it was trained, do not have that information, it will get the information from the open public domain and try to create or try to generate the contextual informations and give it to you as a
Using
response.
RAG.
Okay.
Using RAG.
It is a kind of
Okay.
RAG because RAG is a, yeah, data grounding. Yes.
So RAG was not
Thank you.
introduced at the time of 3.5 or earlier model.
No, RAG is there only because RAG is all about say setting a contextual data. But what we are talking about, the foundation model that has come from the OpenAI do not have that capabilities. Now you
Correct.
build the RAG is your own solution. So
Hmm.
you have actually altered those what has come because those limitation is being altered by creating a RAG is your own solution, not the solutions coming from an OpenAI or Anthropic or maybe some other vendor or maybe NVIDIA or something like this.
Okay.
because you will be pulling your own contextual data through the reg.
Okay.
Okay, so see, remember one thing, you will be getting hundreds of tools, creating PPT, creating videos, there are hundreds of tools around this. Some may be free, some may be paid, that you have to go and validate these things. But I'm primarily focused on the GPT, which is being used extensively in that context. You will be definitely, like, to refer to the presentation that I'm talking about, you will be given complete content of the presentations by using GPT only. So only you just need to go and put it in your PPT stuff. Okay, and in fact, there are a lot many plugged in also coming in for PPT generation from the uh, GPT also, from the OpenAI also. It's a innovation that is happening. So do not worry about what you want to do in near future. All is available, or it is going to be made available. Going back to the capabilities, what you want to do, so that need to understood at this moment. The tools are available, sir. Like, you can just go and find the tools for what you want to do. But tomorrow, if you have to create your own tool, that you need to understand the generative AI, going back to the models and all, right?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
People any other query? We are, about to complete this session now. All right. Uh, Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thanks, Prithviraj. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thanks for your time. Hope the session, uh, you would like the session, and we would continue to deliver the similar kind of sessions, right, in interest of the awareness about the latest trend and technologies in future too. So thanks for your time. Thank you so much, and hope you would go back and implement the Gen AI into your day-to-day life. I'm sure and quite confident that it will really help you to enhance your, productivity, enhance your the other skills right into your environment. So thank you so much. Uh, have a nice weekend.